Hi, this is Ronald Johnson, your life coach, mentor coach. And what I do is I help people that are tired of who they are and where they are in life.
And this is Gloria, your life coach. I help those who are feeling stuck, struggling with difficulties such as self doubt, inner judgment, lack of confidence, life transitions, and taking steps forward.
And welcome to Life's a Shuffle podcast. Now, you may wonder why it's called Life's a Shuffle. And the reason why we came up with this title is that life is really shuffling. It doesn't matter where you come from, your background, what age you are, you're shuffling multiple things in life. And the best thing to know in life is everybody faces your struggles and everybody faces what you're going through. But there's hope in learning something about that. So when our guests share their journey, the hope is you learn something in that journey so yourself can navigate the struggles you face, the low self-esteem, the self-confidence, and that's why we call podcast Life's a Shuffle.
And throughout this podcast, we share our personal overcoming stories, as well as our guests who shares their personal journey in overcoming their personal struggles. Life's a Shuffle podcast is here to connect like-minded individuals.
And thank you for listening to Life's a Shuffle podcast.
Hi, this is Gloria, your life coach, and welcome to another episode of Life's a Shuffle.
Hi, this is Ronald Johnson, life coach, mindful coach, and welcome to another episode of Life's a Shuffle. It's New Year's Day. This is our first episode of the year, and we have another guest, but a second time around. Dr. Pat is here to talk to us again about her upcoming business, everything she's feeling, gratitude, self-care. Dr. Pat, take it away again. Tell us how you feel for the first of the year.
The mic
Well,
is yours.
Am I supposed to talk?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Are you guys editing this?
No, go ahead.
No, it's show up how you are.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure we're all doing it like we're on the same page here. So thank you very much for having me on the show again. I loved hanging out with you guys so much the first time. And we always have that pre-conversation kickoff for the show with you. And it's always so informative. And I love exchanging ideas with like-minded people and exchanging ideas about how we can live longer, better, and with a lot of zeal. So I'm very hopeful for 2021. I don't know anybody who thought 2020 was a good year. And by the way, just for an FYI, in Chinese medicine, when you study Chinese medicine, you study numerology a little bit. So the year that adds up to a 4 is usually, and for China, the number 4 is death. And so 2020 adds up to a 4. So we know that, we're really glad to have that year be gone. History, glad I made it through. Don't ever want to deal with it again. Been there, done that. Let's move forward. Keep on moving forward. So 2021 in Chinese adds up to a 5, and 5 is the number of freedom. So I am very hopeful for 2021 for everybody. And I hope people bless themselves with a ton of common sense and work on their immune systems. And, if they don't know how to do that, there's always, they can ask their functional medicine or lifestyle medicine provider. They can call me. I will talk to them. And I'll make sense of those complicated or challenging or confusing situations and give a better way so that you can move faster, simpler, and have tangible results. So thank you so much for having me back on your show, especially on a very, very important day in 2021.
Yes. You know what? I heard you say something there. I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for myself, my own experiences. 2021 was a year of evolution for me. And I can't say entirely it was a bad year. There's a lot of crap you have to navigate that for me, I just hated doing, but it gave me pause. So since 2017, actually 2015, I've been personal trainer in the gym, working, 56 hours a week, work 6 days a week. At one point I was working every day of the week, wasn't taking any day off because my fear was that if I take a day off, I'll lose clients. Or if I increase my rates, I'll lose clients. So for 2020 allowed March 17th, 2020, me allowed to take a pause for 90 days. And what I mean by that is that in March 17th in California, the mandate came in, everything shut down, stay at home, and all this kind of craziness happened. But it allowed me to think 1 second. I had a dog, and he had to be 4 months old, and I was able to take him out on a walk and smell the freaking fresh air. When you're personal training, for those out there that are doing it one on one, not app or not virtual, you're working on your feet 8 to 12 clients a day. That's how many I was seeing. At one point, even up to 14. But allow me to take a pause and really think to myself, what does Ron want for his future? My plan was to leave California anyways. And I left since California 2 months ago and haven't looked back. I was asked the other day, do you miss California? The answer was hell no. I don't miss the sunshine. I don't miss the beaches. I was born and raised in California. But back to my point, it allowed me to pause and say, what do I really want?
Mhm.
And channel that energy and focus on that. Now, granted, some people out there did have some family members passed away from COVID and things happen. And I'm not trying to say that, oh, well, for you it's good, but screw me. No, I'm trying to say, regardless of what happens, you got to take that pause to restructure what you really want. Because, like I said earlier before we got started, the hamster wheel, right? So the darn hamster doesn't know it's going around in a circle. It just keeps going and going and going and going. Maybe one day guy just dies. But you got to look at your life. What life do you want to live for the future? And if this hamster wheel is keeping you, or called the treadmill, is just keeping you going, one day that heart was going to crash. And one day you look back like, man, I had an opportunity to make a change or opportunity to do this. Why didn't I do it? And it's too late for you.
You know what? I believe that's with a lot of people. So many people was able to take that chance or that opportunity of allowing themselves to pause. Unfortunately, there are some who was not able to see the brighter side of, being able to have that chance or that time to pause for themselves because they were caught up with everything else that's happening around them. Like they felt defeated. They felt like things are being taken away from them. And it was, I heard both sides from different people on that. So there's people that are, that was angry all the time, and this pandemic caused so much anger in a person. Yet you have those who have been able to take the time like you to figure out, what do I really want for myself? What do I really want to do?
I had to. Um, so when I was personal training, don't get me wrong, I like personal training, and it helped me. It served me for a period of time. So we go through levels in life where things serve us for a period of time, and for me, that was a period of time that served me. So it allowed me to quit my full time job, which I no, Dr. Pat, you talking about earlier about your friend. That was
Mhm.
me for 14 years. Not 14. I mean, there was some good years, but last 5, 6 years before I quit in 2017, actually, February 17th, coming up next month, will be 4 years since I had a full time job. Actually, no, sorry, I take that back. Is my math is right? 4 years since I had a full time job. But for 4 or 5 years before I quit, I was just always angry. I mean, upset, angry, frustrated. Um, I can't wait for the weekends to come. 'Cause I'm gonna drink because I got to get rid of that the anxiety, that frustration. I didn't know how, didn't have an outlet, didn't know about coaching, didn't know about therapists, and how this was just killing me. I remember coming to work, walking up the stairs to my cubicle. I felt I was throwing up in my mouth. I literally felt that way. It got to a point where actually I was calling out sick to work just because I needed a mental health day. I didn't even want to go on vacation. Okay, I just didn't want to go to work. So what that being said is that we're making ourselves sick with stress and being on a hamster wheel. I mean,
So,
what do you think about that, Dr. Pat?
so let me ask you a question. If nothing is by chance, and that's true, and then I need to ask you a question. And my question to ask you is, what did you learn from that?
Which one? Be more specific. Like, quit have my full time
Well,
job or quitting?
it's just, like, you had a full time job. How long did it take you before you realized that you hated it so much that it's taking away from your life as opposed to adding to it?
Shit, let's face some reality. So what happens is that you already know what you know, but you're
Hmm.
afraid to make a choice. So you can have a choice to stay or a choice to quit. And that can be a relationship, friends, the divorce. Oh, I can't divorce my husband because we have kids. But you have a choice. So what happens is that what comes up is, okay, I got to pay my rent, I got to pay child support, I got to pay these bills. Am I going to find another job? And what plays on this fact too is our owners were narcissists, and so was my manager. So the idea they're selling us in the company, which is my fault for listening, is economy's bad, grass isn't green on the other side. That was an idea. So I believed into that idea. It wasn't until I met a guy one day, and this is what I believe in universal law or the universe. This guy I met was 1 year older than my dad. He had the same exact uh, birth date as my dad, looked just like my dad, walked just like my dad. The only difference is he was Fiji and my dad was black. Okay.
Hmm.
He looked me in the eye. I said, "Hey man, I see we got to talking, he's going to do personal training." I said, "So you've been, dealing with having your own business for a lot of years. You came from a different country to America. You made something of yourself." And he says, "Bro, let me tell you this: without taking risk, you never know success." Right then and there, I felt I got hit in the head with a hammer. After I got done with that client, I had to go to my full time job. So I would train in the morning for 3 hours. About 9 o'clock, I'm making a beeline straight for the corporation, which was about 10 minutes away to go work. So I went to locker room to change, get ready for my full time career. I had to wear a white shirt and tie, so almost like a business suit. And I couldn't. I almost was paralyzed. I'm sitting on the bench. My locker's open. I can't get my clothes out. At the time, I had a girlfriend, and it was already ready. It's already cute. I says, "Look, send me my letter of resignation. Send me the letter of resignation." I walked maybe 20 yards to my car. I get inside. I mean, doors open. I couldn't get my foot in, and I drove to work. I just couldn't go. I mean, my mind was just shattered
Hmm.
because then I knew what I was always knowing. And let me tell a little backstory about that. I hated Black Friday retail, especially at Fry's Electronics, my full time career. It was chaotic. We didn't make any decisions. It was okay. What did Best Buy do? And we'll try to compensate that. The bosses, the owners will always have these, I call them nightmares. They'll always say, "Oh, let's do it this way." Every day is changing. So I call it like a nightmare because one day, Monday, they say, "Okay, we want to do this." Less than 4 hours later, "Oh, no, let's do this instead." Dude, it's always changing. And for them, they had no plan, no structure, and no philosophy of the company. It's just do. So I never want to do another Black Friday. And this was October 2016. And outside that, for fries, we never paid our bills on time. So if we had a credit score rating, it'd probably be in the 400s. So what vendors got smart is that we know we need product to sell the customers. So when Black Friday would come, we purchase the product. They in turn then will put us on credit hold until they get a payment because they know by then we call it they put our feet to the fire to make a payment, right? And obviously that was always messed up. The bill passed due is $1 million, but they only pay 500K, and they'll pay by check to give a couple extra days to earn interest. So I never want to do Black Friday. So my mom would say, "Okay, October 2017, I do not want to do another Black Friday. Black Friday would be November." And I was like, "Oh shit, I don't think I can make it." Okay, hold on. What about June 2017? I think I can do that. Okay, I think I can do that. But the beat and the drum started getting louder in my head, saying, "You got to do something, Ron. Because if you don't, you're gonna miss the boat." That was what it said in my mind. If you don't do something, you're gonna miss the boat. April, okay, I can make it April. Okay. Then I met that guy. His name is Stan Lau. And the second, third week of January, and without taking risks and never knew success, I quit then because that drum was getting louder and louder. Now I had a choice to ignore it or a choice to proceed forward what I really, really want. So fast forward now to answer your question, I only know what I know now after more experience, but now I realize I have the power. I have a choice. See, people don't realize they have a power and they have a choice. They just let circumstances control them. They let this belief control them. They let the thoughts of people control me. Like my boss said when I quit, I've told you before. He said, "Let me tell you something, Ron. This is like a father talking to a son. What about your 401k plan? What about your benefits? If this is my son, I would tell him don't do it. That son of a bitch was sitting there paying someone else 14% more than me base salary when I had 7 years seniority. I'm looking at this guy, what a liar. So right then there, when he said it to me before I quit, I have lost all respect for him, period. Because I told you exactly that. I said, look, the reason I'm quitting is because I started my own business. I'm not growing. I felt my mind, I was committing mental suicide. And I'm not saying I'm going to hang myself or I'm going to take some pills. I'm committing suicide mentally because I'm not growing, I'm not learning. While cognitively I thought I was faster at things, but because I wasn't being challenged and what I'm good at wasn't being challenged, I was just like a fish in the water, just swimming along the stream, not making any waves. So with that said, I only have more information now, knowing I can make better decisions in my life going forward. So back then, I can only do the best thing I could do. So I know I said like 5 minutes of a journey, but I have to give you a picture because that's what happens. We get caught up with the mindset of, what about this? So let's say I was thinking all things would happen if I quit. I can thought of 100 things. I can thought of 5 things. I never thought of one thing that I would benefit from quitting. So I never thought, oh, less stress. I start my own business. I challenge myself. I get out of my comfort zone. I never thought about that. So when you get ready to make a big decision, we always think about a million different things that can go wrong instead of one thing or two things that can go right for our future. I hope to answer your question. I know it's kind of long.
Well, it certainly was, but if nothing's by chance, then so let me sum up what I heard you say. You hated your job, you hated your boss, it made you sick to go to work.
hmm
And it affected you mentally, physically, spiritually, socially, and emotionally.
hmm
So one day the universe puts, his name was Stan, right?
Stand loud. Yes.
Stan Lau. And in front of you, if nothing's by chance, then there was a message from the universe for you to say, like, here, how many more times do I have to hit you in the head before you get it? And so what you're supposed to learn is that when you have those opportunities confront you, you got to ask yourself, if I bite into this and I decide I'm going to own it, then, what does that look like going forward? Because everything is a risk. Everything.
Yes.
There is not, if you're looking at mindset affects you from the moment you get up to the moment you go to sleep. Everything that happens has based upon your mindset. So, I just like when I hear you, have that conversation about that, a lot of people are stuck in the percentile of like 54%, I think, is like they don't ever do anything because they look at it and they just think it's overwhelming and it's very challenging for them. And plus they might have had the message somewhere along the line is you can't do it anyway because you're stupid, and it's just like, or you're not smart enough, or you're not this. So that self-worthiness and that 54% is really difficult to break through. And then you have 27%, and I don't know if this is going to add up to 100, but I'm just thinking the first number might have been wrong, but 27% are the people who keep on saying, well, what if? I can remember when I went to go to Europe the first time, my mother said, well, you just got done inheriting some money from grandma. I just went like, well, I go, that's true, Mom, but we're talking $2,700. We're talking like millions of dollars, and I wanted to go to Europe, and I was determined I was going to do that. And so one thing, I'm very persistent. When I decide something, I don't give up. I never give up. I get up, I get dressed, I go out, I don't give up. And I just find a different way. And find an easier, better way, like I did when I was telling you my why earlier. So there's 27% of the people who keep on saying, what if? Do you know what if translates? It means mediocrity. And then you have the 17% that like they're working at it. They're kind of like, they have successes. They go forward, backward, forward, backward, forward, backwards, until they have a breakthrough. The 3%, they don't have to think about it too much. They might have to go like, well, let's see, like, what's that going to cost me? If I, don't succeed at this, then what happens? You just start all over again. It's like, there's nothing wrong with starting all over again, and it doesn't make you a failure. It makes whatever you did, you might have to tweak it. That's why they do market research. And that's why when people are writing courses, they want to do the market research first because they want to give you what you want, or else why would you buy it? And then you have the 1% that they're the elite. They like, it's like magic for them. They go, oh, we're going to do this. I'm going to start a company and this is what it's called. And this is what we're going to do. And they have that. So if you're looking at being in your vibe or your vortex or in Einstein's time, then if you can get in that mindset of being in your vibe, in your vortex, in Einstein's time, then it's easier to transcend up that ladder from the 54 or whatever that was to 27 to 17 to 3 to the 1%. But you've got to believe that it's possible. If you have, and that's the thing. So when you say, before, and that story about this guy, because you went through, I want to use the word like almost reactive, and in telling the story, I felt like you were still there almost, and it's just like, and so in the idea of keep moving forward is like, so this happened. What did I learn from it? And then move forward. Because then you can leave it behind you so there's not an emotional tag that settles someplace on your weakest link in your body.
Mhm.
You
That's
said
the
something that was totally, I guess, not secretive, but actual reality. We hold on to some pain, right? So
Mhm.
the pain I was holding on, I could no, actually, you're hearing my voice. Hold on, is the pain of, damn it, you know what? You guys didn't believe me, or damn it, I should have done this sooner. Those are the pain we hold on to, and it's a reality. That's why I'm going through my own coaching programs, hiring a coach and professional. So all those excess links that are broken, because that's a link that's long ago, but that link is still twined into other links that are prohibiting me from really just taking that 1% leaps and bounds in my life. And so you hit the nail around the head when you said, wow, it seems like you're still holding this emotionally. Yeah, it is. I can see it. I can sense it in my voice. And obviously I'm going to go through my way of relinquishing that old BS, because it really is just old BS. It
Well,
has
can I
no place on my life right now. Go ahead.
can I give you and Gloria and all your listeners a little thing to do so they can get past that?
Yeah,
This
sure.
is
sure.
like this is one of my health hacks, and what I do with patients, and clients, especially clients, because I don't really have a lot of patients anymore. I have a lot. My business is virtual, um, but we even on the telephone, like, well, I'll talk to them, and then I can hear hesitancy in their voice, and so I'll ask them, it's just like, so let's not talk about diet today. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about where where we're getting the mindset to move forward. So what I ask them first is if I remind them of their mother or their father, and or their spouse. If the issue is with the spouse, I'll say, like, do I remind you of your husband or do I remind you of your wife? And then the answer is usually, yeah, actually, you do right now. And so then I'll ask them, I go, so what is the emotion? What is it to target it? Like, what are you angry about? What are you resentful for? What are you fearful of? What is that emotion? And then I want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in. I said, and then tell me, I go, the first time you've ever felt like that. Because it isn't anger. The anger goes back to your 5 years old or whatever it is, and it's just like if you can identify, going like, oh, like I'm angry. Why am I angry? I'm angry because, when stuff like that happens, I feel abandoned. I don't feel supported. Oh, when was the first time you ever felt like that? Oh, I had one time, that, I felt abandoned when I was like 10 years old, and then I had time that I was abandoned. I'll tell you a true story, in a technique that I use called NET, called neuro emotional technique. It can take you back through that time span. And so, like, and to make this relevant for people, when Scott Walker, he's a doctor in San Diego, when I saw him in Philadelphia for this conference, he goes, anybody want to volunteer? I'm always the person with my hand up. I'll go. Because that's how I learn best, and as being that kind of good guinea pig. And so at any rate, he was doing this muscle testing on me. And he said to me, so what happened when you were 10 years old? And I said to him, when I was 10, I said 8 to 10, maybe we're 8. I said, my father left my mother. He left. He walked out, took his suitcases with him, split. And, it was very traumatic. And so, no one ever talked about it. No one ever said, this is what happened and the such. And then, but he said, no, there was a time before that you were abandoned. And it was when you were 2 years old, and he did through this muscle test and he came up with the number 2. So on the break, I went and called my mother up and I said to her, what happened to me when I was 2 years old that you would have abandoned me? She goes, oh, when you were 2 years old, you had pneumonia and we took you to the hospital and they kept you there for 2 weeks and they wouldn't let us see you. So that emotional tag got attached to my lungs. And to my liver, because the liver is that organ in Chinese medicine is for anger, and liver, and for the lungs is grief, sadness. And so when he worked on me and we talked this through, and I talk it through with people as opposed, because I can't physically obviously work on them, and that I have people who have that aha moment. And whatever it is that's keeping them stuck in their life, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, or social, they start to break the crust so that they can step into their new self. And so that day that happened with this doctor, I had the worst migraine headache I've ever had in my life. I couldn't pick my head up, but I'll tell you something that's really interesting is that every Sunday, because that's when I'd see my father when I was growing up, every Sunday that I'd see my father and he dropped us off, I always had this feeling that's really kind of like in my gut feeling. This was never felt good. And I always felt sad. And, and if I wanted to see my father, I had to get up at 5:30 in the morning to go to church on Sundays. And I didn't want to do that at all. And so, but I'll tell you, after doing that work with this gentleman and learning that work, because it was so important for me to do that, I never had that feeling ever again. And when it kind of came back a couple times, like when I broke up with somebody, a boyfriend, when I got divorced, it's just like, I just said like, oh, I know what that is. I can move through that. So you have certainty and you have this, when you understand where things come from, you can put them in the box of where there's a safe place to go. That's where it lives. And you don't have to experience it ever again. So I'm just going to behoove you to do a similar process like that after we get off the air and have that conversation with yourself, and decide and what you do is you keep on, if you have an event that happened, is you keep on repeating that event and running it like a movie. And at the end of the movie, you ask yourself, am I reactive to that? Or is it now a memory? As soon as you said it's a memory to yourself, run it 2 more times after that. In your head. Does it still feel like that? And then when you tell a story, you can tell it with a lot of vim and vigor, but you don't have the emotional attachment to it anymore.
You said something that now makes sense now. So 2 things. It's about my history real quick. First is I was molested as a kid. Second is my parents both, my dad remarried and my mom went on her little tantrum of dating, trying to find love. And I now see the reason why I react to these kind of emotional things like my boss or relationships is because I never felt supported. So when I got molested, I didn't feel supported. While my mom chose men over me, I didn't feel supported. While my dad allowed my stepmom to abuse me, physically, call me fat or whatever, I didn't feel supported. So when that totally now makes freaking sense, because now I've been carrying around this baggage, which is like a anchor, because I never felt supported. And
well, now you
just
are.
gave me a moment of clarity.
Well, now you are. And what's important about that, and I'm sure Gloria has some like stories too, because we all have them.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's your ceiling, if that's what every time you hit that is holding you back from being exceptional, being on target, on your game, clarity of thought, I can go to sleep at night. I have no issues in my life. Then if that's what's holding you back and hitting your ceiling, sit there, sit with it, run it, that memory and go like, okay, did I ever have a time before that? And then you'll know the answer. It's just like you just have to listen to yourself. And just like, oh, did I ever have time before that? Was it a person, place, time, and or thing that happened that keeps on triggering it off? And you're like, oh, it's a person who's just like, or it's a situation that's just like. So when you get to those situations, you can say, in Italy, like when there's someone's telling you, like, forget about it, up yours kind of thing, this like you can push your hands and push that energy right back at that person and go freeze. And then that their energy can never, ever touch you again. You never, ever, ever give up your good peace of mind for anybody. Never let anybody disturb your peace of mind. If you do, call me up. I'll go beat them up for you. Because I just, sometimes I love to advocate for people, and I love to see people really excel. And that gives me a lot of pleasure. I like to see people have, if you want to be healthy, here's your choices. You can do this, this, or this. Which one do you want to do? And they're going, well, I still want to eat sugar. Then you're not my client. Go eat sugar with somebody else. But don't come to me with a stage 4 cancer telling me like I should have listened to you, and don't have that regret. I mean, it's like everybody is responsible and accountable for their own givings and misgivings, and you can't put those responsibilities onto somebody else, when you're looking at accountability. And so, but it behooves you and your listeners to go through that process, ask yourself, what is it? And if it's just like, it's a word that's vague, like someone says to me, I'm healthy. Well, what does that mean? And, you have to get it down to where you're funneling it down to like a couple words. Like, so I feel guilty. Why did you feel guilty? Because I stole things when I was a kid. And now as an adult, every time somebody steals something from me, I know exactly what that felt like. Well, how old were you when that happened? Time, place, event. And then go through that process of like, if you go like, oh, I remember Uncle George and I were in a store and he showed me how to shoplift. I mean, I'm just making this up. And, but whatever the story is, and then run it, in your head and keep on doing it. And with your eyes closed, start it from the very beginning, hit start, and play and run it to the end. And then you just ask yourself the question, is this now a memory or am I still reactive? And if you're still reactive, there's probably something a little earlier than that. If you keep on coming up with like, I'm still reactive, I'm still pissed off, I'm still working through this. So you have to say like, okay, so there had to be a previous event. What person, place, time, or event happened earlier, and what age was that? It might be 4, it might be, just like go with your instinctual flow for that. And you can have some really good, great breakthroughs that you never even imagined in your life. And it's kind of like a DIY self-analysis kind of thing, I guess. But when you don't get rid of those emotions, here's the big thing. It's just like when you don't handle that, when you don't get the handle on getting past what if you don't get the handle on it, then what happens is whatever that energy is, it settles deep within your body.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of go like, when people have certain, sometimes illnesses, I kind of think, I ask them, when I'm doing my interviews with them, I ask them a lot of different questions. And sometimes they go, we keep on going down that rabbit hole until we hit what we need to get. And just like, are you willing to do what it takes to be happy? Are you willing to do whatever it takes to be healthy? Are you willing to do whatever it takes to change your habits so that you can have the best kick-ass life possible?
Mm-hmm.
And if you are, you're in the right place.
Yeah. So I was listening to you earlier about what you're giving tips as well. So yes, something came up to me, and we all have stories, right? But now, when you're saying is, are you willing to? So it always comes from within. Are we ready to move on from that? Are we ready to let go? Because otherwise, it's just going to keep coming up and we'll keep reacting to it. I mean, I had that recently happen to me, actually, right by, I think, yeah, around Christmas time, and I received a Christmas card unexpectedly, and I sort of reacted to it, but I gave myself, about a week until last night to really, you know, think about it. How do I want to react to this? How do I want to respond to this? And you did mention, you mentioned to me that, January 1st is a day of reflection for
Mhm.
you, right? And how to move forward with confidence. And I was thinking about that yesterday too, or last night too, is okay, January 1st is coming up. What do we have to do? I mean, do we have to wait till the end of the year, till January 1st to really think and reflect and move forward from whatever is holding us back, or from any situation that we're in? And even, with the 2020 that everyone's been talking about, this on the 31st, everyone's been talking about, I can't wait till the year is over. This has been shitty. And yeah, I get that. But did you have to wait till, the end of the year to move forward from it?
Well, it's just a formal date, that you move from one to the other. I mean, there's no difference in time continuum. If you look at what Einstein's definition of time and time continuum is, there's no difference. It either goes faster for some people or slower, but it doesn't, there's no thing like that. But the thing that you said that I thought was interesting, and something like when you're trying to like work through something faster so you're not holding on to it, you got
Mhm.
to ask yourself, like, you got the Christmas card and it upset you. I'm going to presume it upset you, right? Or did it?
Somewhat. Mhm.
Okay, good.
Well,
So,
it was,
so this,
yeah, I'm not sure. Now I'm thinking about it. It's somewhat upset, and then a little bit of, I don't know how to. I just didn't know how to feel. I'm trying to, and the funny thing is, I'm trying to figure out, how do I feel about this?
okay, so let me give you. Let's. Do you want to work on something? Do you want to have a
Sure.
breakthrough? Or let's see if we can create a breakthrough for you.
Mhm.
Okay, so you get a Christmas card that you didn't expect to get, and it made you upset on some level, and so it made you feel uncertain.
Mhm.
And it made you feel like, when you feel uncertain, you're confused, and confused buyers don't buy. So it suddenly put mud in your shoes and cement, so you couldn't move forward. So
Right.
you got to ask yourself, who does that benefit?
Mm.
When you get, because there's a previous time in your life that you've ever had that happen to you, right? So something happens to you, it makes you feel uncertain, and makes you feel like you can't go forward.
Right.
So, right? So if if you had to put a feeling to how that felt, not like how the cards makes you felt, because that doesn't matter. What matters is like it's the big idea around the card and feeling upset, which got you stuck and not being able to move forward. So if you identify, like, did I ever have that same kind of feeling before? If so, how old were you? And then you ask yourself, is there a time before that? If so, when was that? And you keep on going back to the very first time, because if you only put a band aid on this Christmas and on that card, you're going to keep on having that problem come back again and again, as you rightfully noted. So I'm going to ask you, in the way that you felt, and not how the card made you feel, but how you felt about the situation. When was the first time in your life that you had a similar feeling?
Well, so this goes back years and years and years, and I think
Mhm.
I'm attached to an expectation on in this case. What it is to give you a story on this, is that I've been out of touch and no contact with my real father, who
Mhm.
I've had it wasn't, I've never really, I wouldn't say never, but I didn't really have a good relationship with him. And it's been, like over 20 years now. So I've come to a realization this last couple of years that I felt like it was time to patch things up, and that I need to really reach out to him. Now it's like I felt like, okay, he's nowhere to be found. I can't find him. But I think it also goes back to years of every time we try to patch things out or up, just doesn't work out to where like, yeah, really just still doesn't accept me as his daughter, or he really doesn't want a relationship with me. And it's always like that. So every year I feel like I go through this situation. So then I was able to reach out to his cousin who lives here in San Francisco. And I know my dad is in the Philippines, somewhere in the Philippines. I don't know where. I was able to reach out to his cousin, and I told him, gave him I just told him how I felt. And he said, I'll be the bridge, right? Goes to the Philippines. And I had hopes that this is it. It's going to happen. I'm going to talk to him, we'll just kind of move on, right? And I felt like just starting all over with him, and let's just move on from the past. Well, I didn't get anything from his cousin. He went to the Philippines. He said, "Oh, here's your dad. He is alive and kicking. He's doing well." But that's what I got last year. I said, okay, I get it. Maybe then the first thing I thought was rejection. I felt rejection, like, okay, my dad doesn't want a relationship with me again. He doesn't want to talk to me. Maybe he doesn't want to patch things up with me. Then,
Gloria,
yes.
I want to tell you something. Your father doesn't want to have a relationship with himself. You cannot have a relationship with somebody else when you don't want to have a relationship with yourself. It's not you.
Oh, that's pretty deep.
It's not you. It's just like when you're doing all the extending, it's like when you're trying very hard to make something work for somebody who isn't speaking the same language,
Hmm.
you know, they aren't going to hear you. They're going to go like, I don't understand. I don't get it. It's like when someone's very pictorial and they're talking in the terms of like, I ask them, what kind of street do you live on? And they're going, oh, the trees are beautiful and they're green. You can smell the grass when it gets cut. It's really beautiful. So someone who's visual and someone who's feeling, but they go like, I just can't stand the sound of the lawnmower. It's like nails on a chalkboard. And so when you're talking to somebody who is not feeling because you feel, and you're using the words that somebody uses for feeling, like you can talk to Ron about that. You could talk to me about that. You could talk to your girlfriends about that. People who relate to feelings first, but you're not going to talk when you talk to somebody who is not on that same page. It's like talking to a wall because what they hear is bloop, 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 bloop.
Hmm.
And so, there's nothing wrong with you, you know, what, and there's nothing wrong with your relationship with yourself. But when stuff like that happens, you look at that when it happens and you decide it's your fault. It's not your fault. Think of all the hard, wonderful work that you've done on yourself. It's just like, and you're doing like, I want to be better. Ron wants to be better. I want to be better. We all want to be better,
Hmm.
but if you can see your genius, there's like, you are connected to your father by blood. You might not be connected by him. He's not your family.
Yeah. I like
So
how you,
it's,
yeah.
it, I'm not trying to make him into a bad guy. It's just the way that he is. So if you understand, like the feeling, thinking, or like, if you want to like have a conversation with him, you've got to have the conversation in the language that he understands, because he doesn't know how to talk to you. So, and then even if you do talk to him, you might not have a connection either. There's just some people. His job was to make sure you got on the planet Earth. And so that you're here right now at this moment, because nothing is by chance. And going into 2021 with confidence, both of you guys are genius. You have such a great big heart, and it's just like, who doesn't love you? And it's just like, you got to take a look at the people who support you and the people who say like, hey, you know what, Ron, I'm going to call you on that anger thing. Hey, Gloria, I'm calling you on this because I want you. I see You're genius, and I want to see it blessed, and I want to see you blossom, both of you.
Thank you. And that, you know, thank you. It really did put some sense to it too. The Christmas card, just to be clear on that, is from his cousin. And,
Mhm.
the first thing was I was excited. I said, oh my God, he has some news for me. But there was a note there, and it had nothing to do with my dad at all. Obviously, it was, just his journey and his travel in the Philippines and coming back. I'm thinking, damn, here we go again, right? And so I gave myself a hard time this past week about that before I responded back to him. And not only did he, send a card, he reached out to me through text, and I said, okay, I need to really respond back. But the attachment on that was the expectations of, there's going to be good news. We opened it, no good news about it. No news about my dad at all. And then, of course, I blamed myself somewhat this week about, like, had I been a better person to him when I was younger, had I been maybe a better daughter of, just accepting the situation, our situation, we wouldn't be in this position right now. And then maybe we would still be talking, and we would have that kind of relationship, even if we're thousands and thousands of miles away. So that
So,
was things that came up
so
to me this week.
no, I understand. So,
Mhm.
Gloria, is there anything you can do about the past?
There's nothing I can do
Yes
about
or
the
no?
past.
Is there
No,
anything you can do about the past? Okay,
no.
great. So, all you need to do, and this is what, like what I hear you say, and I could be totally wrong. So I'm just going to preface it. What I hear you say is all you need to do is just say, I'm sorry for any miscommunication to you, Dad, growing up, because I just want to let you know I love you. End the story. Love, Gloria.
Yeah.
Because you've got to it's just like that's a monkey on your back. And it doesn't belong there. Monkeys belong in trees, eating bananas. So,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
where monkeys go. And I don't like bananas, and I like monkeys. They're very cute. But I just think, for you to get to sit your soul free, so you don't have that stored someplace in your body somewhere that's going to show up as some type of chronic illness or disease, or make it a weak link, because that's where your stress goes when you feel rejected, because we're all going to have rejection. It's just like,
Mhm.
so what? You don't like me? Great. Guess what? There's a lot of other people who like me, love me, and think I walk on water. Thanks for sharing that with me. you
Yeah.
know, and,
Yeah.
and you move and you move on. It's just like every breath you take, and every food that you eat, and every thought that you think, and everything that happens to you is either projecting you in a positive way forward, keeping you stuck in the same place, or holding you back. And so you choose how you're going to move forward. And just like, if it's like, sometimes you just have to, like when you, like, we all have, like, families, a woman did a healing on me up in New Hampshire, like years ago when I was with my husband. And so it's like really long time ago. And he found this woman who was a healer. I thought it was amazing walking into her very old house that there was no dust anywhere. I said, got it. I said, you clean this place all the time? It was a huge house. And she goes, no, I never clean. And do you have a cleaning lady? No, I never clean. So at any rate, she was doing this kind of Reiki thing, hands-on healing type things with me.
Mhm.
And at one point in time, she put this turquoise lotus on my neck and chest. It felt like it was burning, and it felt like it was so heavy. And then she said, open your eyes, Patricia. And I said, and I looked at her. She said, a mentally retarded person cannot give birth to a high priestess.
Hold on,
And
say it
so
one more time. Hold on. Say it one more time.
what this woman said to me was, a mentally retarded person cannot give birth to a high priestess. And I just started being a doctor, and working on people. And I'm looking at her. And the thing is that I told somebody 3 days before that, I thought my mother was mentally retarded.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it just stopped me dead in my tracks. And she took the lotus thing off, but I could still feel it, like, for three or 4 days afterwards, until I kind of forgot about the experience. And from that moment on, how I chose to speak with my mother was totally different. It's just like, and I will tell you, we all have that parent that we think, did us wrong growing up and they owe us, but they don't owe you anything. Their job's over as soon as you're born and as soon as you're 17 years old.
I like that.
And so it's just like, it's now your job to pick up like, okay, so now what am I going to do with my life? This is my life. Whose life is it anyway? It's my life. But I will tell you that moment that happened with that, I just went, like when my mother, I was much more patient. It was like instantaneous. It was much more patient when I talked to my mother and I wanted to tear her throat out before. And just we were like, my mother and I always have been fire and ice the whole time I'm growing up. And so that was, like we all have those moments. And I like to help people have those moments so they have the breakthrough that they need and they deserve to move forward. So I hope what I said with you today was okay. And I hope it was okay for both of you.
Oh,
You
it
know
is.
what? So one thing I believe in is energy and it's vibrational. So when you talk to Gloria, hey, you know what? He does not communicate, and I felt through the microphone a release of energy, and I felt through the
I did
microphone that
too.
Gloria had an aha moment. Like, ah, shit! I've been carrying this damn brick around the rest of my life. Now it's fine. Now I can breathe a little bit, a sigh of relief. And when you said to her, what it manifested for me is, my dad had a temper. 1 minute he'll browbeat you, or he say you're worthless. Then 1 minute he says I love you, and I say shit. That's how I am. Wait a minute here, Ron. Hold on 1 second. First of all, you're not him. Second of all, you're supported. And right then there, my body felt a small jolt. And those that don't understand what I mean, as felt something was gone. It's like a small spasm, as the best way to describe it. Because right then there, like you just said, is our parents are here to birth us, and that was it. So my dad's job was get me to a certain point in my life. Now I got to be the person, which his name is Ron, and be that person and not live through my dad's filters or his lens. Because when I look around my life at this point in time, I am supported more than I think. I'm supported by a lot of people that love me, just like you said, that I may not know. I mean, there may be a person that listens to our podcast that loves, oh man, Ron's a great guy. I like that guy. My clients support me. And you say to yourself, damn, you know what? I'm hanging on to this baggage from my childhood. My dad's gone 5 years ago, over 5 years ago. I don't want to carry that around the rest of my life. I don't want to corrupt me. One thing's for sure, and it kind of has in my mind, I'm going to die one day. Now, choice is how I die. The choice is how I live my life until that day comes. It could come tomorrow, it can come 1,000 years from now, but the choice is mine. And now thinking back my childhood about being supported is I am supported now. Now, I wasn't then. And you know what? The best thing I say to myself, my parents did the best thing they could with what they have in front of them. But now in my life, I'm not only supported by myself first, I support myself. I'm also supported by people around me. May not be a million people, supporting me. Who knows? But I'm supported by people that actually care about me. They're committed to supporting me, and that's now I'm going to make sure those around me. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Dr. Pat, for supporting me because that right there helps me release a lot of energy, and that's what I'm going to do.
So isn't it so much more fun going into 2021 with a lot more clarity?
Oh,
Yes.
hell yeah.
And like
Yeah.
5 pounds off your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, like something else I always tell people to do too, like when I'm coaching them and we're on the emotional issue or the mindset issue, is like, when I'm angry with somebody or if I, with my ex-husband, because someone goes, you always talk so nice about your ex-husband. So Emmanuel, if you're out there listening to this, like, this is for you. But I used to say, I would just look at him and I would think like, what makes him act like that? Instead of getting angry or like being reactive, what makes him act like that? And then I would say to him, I go, and every day that I would get up, I would say, for all the good I see in him, I bless him, I bless him, I bless him. He's an incredible chiropractor. He's an incredible thinker. and it's, and so, and we're still friends. I mean, I got this really nice, like Happy New Year's wish, from him. And how come I haven't moved to an island, and kind of things. But it's just like, if you, and people have said it to me all the time, they go, you always talk really nice about him, and I said, well, I thought he isn't a bad guy. He was a very good doctor, and he was a thinker. He's a vertical thinker, and his father was an incredible healer. And so he's, it's just like, if you, in order to get past that block, sometimes you got to bless people. Like when someone does something that I call once a day, I guess like a once a day person, I'm thinking like, oh my God, why did that guy cut over 5 lanes? They're trying to kill themselves. Instead of saying what an idiot and call them, 4-letter names and stuff like that, I just like, poor guy. He's got meeker challenges than what I'm imagining probably. But I'd still call them the 4 names anyway. But I would also think like, wow, what makes somebody act like that? What makes somebody to the point where instead of saying like, we can agree to disagree. What happened? That's what went out the window in 2020. It's like, being able to agree to disagree, and having people like, do a lot of like, like some of the things I saw on Facebook. I said, I think we need a new Facebook. I think we need to move forward. Facebook's broken. And I think we need to move forward on a different platform, that has love and it has, like people supporting each other. If you disagree with someone, then just don't make a comment.
Just don't,
You
yeah.
know, it's
I
just like
totally agree with
if
that.
you don't if you don't like something that someone says, why do you have to argue with them about it? Nobody has to see the point of view that you're seeing,
They'll have
but
they'll
the
have your journey.
media,
Yeah.
the media, and everyone's got their own path. So if you think like, okay, so you know, all the events in your life, Ron and Gloria and Dr. Pat, all of your events in your life when your father gave you birth and made you angry and didn't support you, made you who you are today because those events made you think beyond your 9 dots. And your solution isn't always in your box. Your solution is outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
And we keep on forgetting because we're going like, oh, it's not in front of us. So obviously it doesn't, if it's not in front of me, it doesn't exist. And that's not even true about science. Like just because, something is not proven doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And, and there's a lot of science, and you always like in this day and time, you have to look at who's employing the scientist. Because a lot of times many scientists are beholden to that paycheck. And so a lot of times they're being asked to make whatever the numbers work, and in order to be able to, for them to move forward. But that's their path. And our path is to, enrich and enliven people and help them have, for me, it's helped them have more common sense. Like if I won't do it, if anybody asks me a question, do you think I should X, Y, and Z? And if it doesn't make sense to me, I'm going to tell you, I'm very black and white. It's like, no, I'm not, when I was first a doctor, I would try to like buffer it up, but I like now at this point in time, I go, no. And if you keep on doing what you're doing, you're going to, whatever it is, you're going to blow your shoulder out. You're going to blow your back out. And then if that's your path, then, we can talk later. It's like, but I don't babysit adults. That's one thing I don't do.
You just tell them straight up.
Well,
You know what?
you don't want to waste your time and you don't want to waste your effort and you don't want to waste your time on somebody who really doesn't want to have what you have to offer. So,
Yes.
and so clarifying who's your client and who isn't your client and who's in your niche or who isn't in your niche. As soon as somebody tries to argue with me, I'm always going to see you later. And because it's just like, you don't want to, you got to have the right equipment if you're going to go uphill. And a lot of people don't carry that equipment with them on a daily basis.
No, they don't. They definitely
Just have a
don't.
pick and a shovel and help to make it uphill. That's all they really have.
You also have to, I just thought of an interesting analogy to that. So like your house is on fire, you're going to call the fire department, right? And they're going to come with 2 types of tools. They're going to come with a hose and an axe. So if you're going to fix something in your life, you want to call the right person. So on that, if you had a fire in your house, you wouldn't call a dentist who also works with picks and axes, right? You got to
No.
go to the right source to get the right information, to know how can I cut to the chase and get to from point A to point C in the most efficient, fastest way possible. That's better, that's simpler, and that how you have the breakthrough that I want to have so that I can do what I need to do in this lifetime.
And that goes back to your first comment. Nothing in your life happens by chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that first, I'm gonna say you're right about Facebook. Facebook is just, I just want to throw up. I mean, you can say one comment and it just goes round in circles, and someone else. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, you guys. Come on, learn, hear a comment and say, hey, how can I learn from this? Ask empowering questions. Don't just come up with, oh, I think this is right and my opinion is better than yours.
Right.
But with that said, nothing happens by chance. So I'm at a crossroads in my life. I know the bridge on the other side, right? And at the point, the other side is where I can live beyond what I'm living right now into a great magical greatness of my own power. And power comes within. And like you said, find the right tools or find the right people or find whatever it is to get you to the next side. And visually, I see the other side, but something's holding me back. So a couple of days ago, I reached out to a spiritual healer, a conscious healer, and I guess the best way to put it. And obviously seeking help in different ways. Like I'm going to call the right person. I'm not going to call a lawyer when I'm seeking a spiritual breakthrough or I'm seeking healing. So pretty much what it is, I'm seeking healing because if I can heal myself, then those things that hold me back would catapult me to the next level, right? So it's funny that I just reached out to someone that has been a guest on our podcast, has been a guest on our virtual summit, has been a guest, and it's just we had this breakthrough moment. And when I was talking to her when she was part of our virtual summit, three things when we did a breath work like meditation, and
Mm-hmm.
three things came to mind: powerful, magnificent, wonderful, just out of the blue. And I reached out to her a couple of days ago to at least get set up. Hey, this is what I'm facing. Can we work together? Can we help me? Does it make sense? Because I want to make sure I'm a high ideal client, and I want to make sure she can work with me. And these are my issues. And back to your point, nothing happens by chance. I was supposed to be where I am at the right time, and she came in my life at the right time. And if things work out, we're going to move forward.
Hmm.
Good. That's wonderful.
That's amazing. I mean, I just we see the thing is I go back to the fact that all the stuff we talk about, Dr. Pat, Gloria talks about, I talk about, up until the last 2 years of my life, I didn't believe in it. I didn't believe in it. I really thought things were happening in my life because God made them happen to me. God gave me hand of bath cards. And it goes back that if we had, but then again, if I go back and say, well, I wish I had this at 25, at 20, I wasn't really accept something different. If someone had planted seeds throughout my life of, hey, this is a different way of living, because the way that group living was, religion was it first. Second thing is success was it. So if you want to be successful, you have to go to religion. And now after more research and more understanding, it's not everything.
So
You are
can I
everything. Go
can
ahead.
I ask you a question?
Yes.
Have you ever? I know it's just like I almost wanted to join this guy's church when I heard him. Do you know who T.D. Jakes is?
TD Jakes. TD Jakes. A name doesn't sound familiar.
Well, he is this pastor. He's a big black dude, pastor, and I was at a conference and somebody had a clip of him, and he talks about the word commitment. He talks about commitment, and he is funny as he. I was going to say he is funny as sin. No pun intended. Um, but he's very very he's very boisterous. He's very
Oh, yes. I thought his name
yeah,
was something else. I know this guy. I've listened to several of his podcasts and YouTube videos.
right. So he talks. There's more than one of them. It's a famous talk that he gives on commitment, as he talks about people who's going, and like what your level of commitment is. And he said, you get married, but you weren't committed to that person, because it's like for until death do us apart, but you're getting divorced. That's where's the commitment? It's but he gives these really wonderful examples, and some of them, you think that they're really quite funny. So when you're just talking about that particular last segment, he kept on coming to mind, and the other thing is that I really believe is God does not want you to be not successful. He wants you to succeed, and so when, sometimes we have struggles that we go through, and certainly I've had a lot of them too. It's just like, but I keep on asking myself, what am I supposed to learn from this? I'm persistent, and I'm resourceful. Those are two things that people always say about me. I'm persistent, I'm resourceful, I will figure out a way. Throw me in the fire and I'll come out blazing like a phoenix and reinventing myself. And it's just like in that, but you got to listen to this. You have to go back and listen to that. And your listeners would be it would be a good listen for anybody who thinks they're committed, because when you get done listening to them, you're realizing like, you know what, maybe I'm not as committed to my life, to my success, to my, partner, to, whoever. Maybe I'm not as successful as I think, or commitment, as I really need to be. And it changes when you change that perception, you can do something about it. There's another video of a guy, and this girl going up an escalator. Have you ever seen it? And it stops all of a sudden. So on an escalator, you have a choice. You can stand still, or you can go back down the steps, or you could go forward. And so in the video, if you look it up, it's called Moving to Take Action or something like that. And this guy stands there and he's going, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And the girl behind him is going, I got a job interview. What are we going to do? How are we going to get off the escalator? And then they start screaming, hello, anybody? We need help. Help, the escalator's not working. And you see them, and the music goes on a little bit, and you see them standing there. And then someone starts walking up. They're going, oh my God, there's somebody here. And the guy says, hey, I'm here to fix it. So he presses the button, and the downstairs escalator coming up to their escalator starts to work, and all of a sudden it stops. And then they're all sitting down because they're stuck by and paralyzed by the immediateness of the action, and they don't know how to get through the action, and all they have to do is walk forward. It's a very cool video. It's like I use that for a training, to share with somebody. Like I go, do you get it? Do you get how you're stuck? You just have to move forward. Going back how you came is only good if there's a fire ahead of you and there's danger. but it's just like you can get off the escalator, you can move, and it's like so many people are like that, and they don't realize that option's there.
Yeah, and I like that how you use that example. So I was listening to you about that, and I was thinking, man, I just had a breakthrough with Dr. Pat on the first day of the year because now it got me thinking, you're right. I do have, for some reason, I thought I was, I've gotten over it and I've let go, but I still hold that baggage behind me that just comes up for some reason once in a while. How am I moving forward with this? Is that I've realized while sitting here and listening is that his cousin who's been reaching out to me and who's been in contact with me, who's, my uncle, that why don't I move forward with him and just stay connected with him and start a relationship with him, but make it like it has nothing to do with my dad at all. Because I feel like there's, he's reaching out to me and making sure he's in contact with me doesn't really mention anything about my dad or my situation. So why don't I stay with that with him and just, have a certain relationship with him without having to do with my dad. So what I'm going to do is he did offer to, I hope to see you before I go back to the Philippines and have a get together with you. And I'm going to say yes to that. And, hopefully in the next couple of months before he goes back is to talk to him or maybe hopefully meet up with him.
So here's I have a challenge for you, Gloria. and
Mhm.
Ron and Dr. Pat, talking to myself,
Include yourself, of course.
include myself, is this like all three of us need to meet next New Year's, you know,
Oh,
and do a podcast next year. And so what the goal is to say yes to any invite that's reasonable. So if you say, oh, he's like, oh, I'd love to do that, then the answer is yes.
Answer is yes.
Yeah,
yes.
the answer is yes. Like say as yes to many invites as you possibly can do.
Yes.
Don't say no. When I first started from March 17th doing podcasts and radio shows and stuff like that, because I love doing them. And is that I said my goal was to do 20 of them. And I just, the other day somebody asked me for like, can you give me like 5 podcasts you've been on? I said, oh, honey, I can give you a lot more than that. I said, I've been on over 50 podcasts since March 17th.
Wow.
And I didn't plan it, but as soon as I hit 20, I was going, I think I'm underestimating my ability to shine like a star. And so we all do it. We all have like, where does that come from? And so it's just like, so step into your greatness, say yes to any invite. And then if there's any that would cause you any physical harm, then that's a good one to say no to. But
Yeah.
but it's just like, just say yes.
Mhm.
And that it has such positive energy, the word yes, doesn't it?
Oh,
Yes,
it
it
does.
does. It really
Well,
does.
somebody on Cape Cod, there's a town called P-Town, which is Providence, or Providence. I'm thinking of Rhode Island. It's called P-Town and Provincetown. And there was a liquor store there. And when I was walking by in the afternoon, their sign said open. When I was walking by at nighttime on the way back to get the boat to go back to Boston, it said nope. So the anagram of open is NOPE. So is
Oh.
it right? Right? Yeah.
Got it
Very
now.
cute, isn't it? So it's just like he wasn't saying not open. I mean, wasn't saying he was open. He was just saying like, I thought that was very clever. So you can always use open. I'm open to things. I'm open. Yes, yes. The answer is yes. If you want to ask me something, and the answer is yes. So you just have to figure out when you say yes, what are the things that I have to do to step up to bat to get to home plate?
Hmm.
Because there's no process that does not require time. And the thing with your uncle too. I mean, just thanking him for thinking of you, that and just telling you really, that you're very appreciative of that, and you look forward to seeing him before he goes back to the Philippines.
I will, and that's I was just thinking yeah, I was just thinking about, like, kinda just staying strong with all this, right? And just like what you said, just just say yes, but be more confident. So, I wanna go back to I think you have, something coming up
Oh, I
s
do.
stronger than medicine, and, if it's an online course you have I believe it's this month that you're starting
It
that.
is. It's actually in 2 days, so there's still time to
Oh,
sign up for it.
perfect
Um,
timing. Yeah,
it
if you can
well,
explain.
I'm repeating the course. This time, this particular course is a beta course. So, it was reduced by 75%. I gave a 50% reduction because it was a beta. And then every year in January, I give out gift certificates for $500 of my services as a gift of health going into the new year. So you can truly step in with confidence. And also, if you get my book, Why Are You Sick, Fat, and Tired, you'll know exactly what your weakest link is. So you know where to fortify that link so you can have a better immune system. So, but the course for the Stronger Than Medicine course is a course for people who are busy professionals and entrepreneurs who want to scale their time and improve their health, profitability, and self-care for themselves and for those that matters. Because so many people at the end of the day are depleted. So what we do is we look at what stresses you out that makes you sick. We talked a little bit about that before. And we look at things that, so you can identify them. So it's like, if that stresses me out, what can I do about it so that I have a buffer, because some of it's not going to go away, and not all stress is bad. That's an important thing to do also. And also there's categorizing your day and your week. So in the course, there's one thing I can promise is there is going to be a lot of accountability, and there's going to be a lot of knowledge shared, so you can stack that power, like knowledge is power, in a very likely logical manner. And also get a handle on where is my health today, what's my health snapshot, and how can I get past that? Because you can't do any job, you can't do any relationship if you aren't healthy. Because when you're not healthy, most people feel like they're a burden to themselves and to their families and to their friends. And you didn't grow up, you didn't have that, like, I was born, I came on the earth, and I'm going to end up with a chronic illness and disease. So it doesn't make sense to carry that kind of belief system forward. So the first course this Sunday is going to be, it's probably going to be an hour and a half. And I spend a lot of time on mindset and like things that you can, so you have to understand where your mindset comes from, because then you can recreate the foundation and not have any cracks in it. So that course on market price today is with my gift of health, and which would include a 75% discount. Makes it $497. And so I don't know if we're going to have show notes here, but I can put the bit.ly link for the course itself, and people can check it out. And if it's for them, I would love them to hop on. One thing I'm going to do in this course here, and I'll do it throughout the first week, hopefully I'll get everybody done, is I'm going to do my same intake. So I'm doing my full questionnaire, because I don't guess, I test. So my first test with people is to find out where that weakest link is, and then show them how they can go from point A to point C, that makes sense for them, because I do very individualized patterns for people for their lifestyle medicine and functional medicine. And then you can order appropriate tests, and then you can really find out, what's lurking below the surface, so you don't have a big surprise, at some point in time going like, oh, I didn't know that, and for people who have that belief system that they're, like my family has a history of cardiovascular disease or diabetes or whatever, those are all lifestyle induced diseases. So if you're a rose bush, and none of the rose bush ever blooms all at the same time, and nobody in a family, not everybody in a family has cardiovascular disease if that's a prevalent weak genetic link, but what you can change your constitution by changing the food that you eat, the amount of exercise that you get, the amount of sleep that you get, and the quality and the hygiene of that, your mental attitude, and how positive you are. And because your thoughts can undo anything that what you do to help with the mechanics or the structure, function, and posture part of your body. So they can help really undo that very quickly. So in this course, in 6 weeks, we go over, I help people walk that path so they get their New Year's resolution. Not only can they make a New Year's resolution in health, but they actually can fulfill that dream and fulfill that goal this year, instead of like falling off the wagon, which I think there's some huge rate. I read it the other day. I think it's like 50 or 60, 75, 80% people, don't complete their New Year's resolutions because they are making resolutions. They don't know how to make goals. You make a goal that's achievable for yourself. But this year, if you really want to be healthy, this is the course for you to do. It's 6 weeks long, and it is $497. And you have an hour and a half of my time designing a program so you can get your stuff, and how you can get more benefit out of the program that we're going to do. It'll be
Wow,
fun.
$497 to change my life.
Yeah, come on
Right.
in. The water's
That's
fine.
that's I mean, you said about New Year's resolution, and I think about JD Jakes. And he says the reason why people fail, and Tony Robbins said, is that they lack the why and lack commitment. The why, the commitment has to be strong enough. So does the why. So someone stays strong enough to their commitment, which is to get better health or change their mindset. And $497 for commitment for a change for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You got to be committed to that. You got to commit, because you got two choices now. The choice is you go through Dr. Pat's program, or you can call your local physician, and he's going to prescribe some medicine for you. Like, hey, call me in a couple of months and see if you feel better. You come back with the same problems, even worse problems, and he says, "Okay, here's another prescription. Hope you feel better. Come in 90 days. Come back. Now you're taking 3 or 4 prescriptions, hoping you feel better when you're still at the same start."
Well, that's the sad truth, and that's how, we all heard the phrase, the keywords, new normal, but that's how people make new normals too. It's just like, and then they try to second guess it, so women do second guessing really well. So when you have that second guessing going on, then it keeps you stuck. You don't know what really to do. And so even, when, I'm looking for people to join our group and to be able to have the ability to like think outside the box. If you're not an outside the box thinker, don't sign up for it. You're going to hate it because they're, I'm very black and white, and I call an ace an ace and a spade. And, I used to be really nice when I was in my 30s, but now I just say, do you hear yourself speaking? But sometimes you have to have that breakthrough. You can't have that breakthrough unless you have that resistance either.
Yeah.
So, but I believe anybody who like believes in themselves and believes in their tomorrow and believes that they can have a healthy, longer, better life, then they should come join me.
And just come in with an open mind.
And I don't bite.
No. So this should be, so if you don't have a goal set yet, this should be the first goal for 2021 is join Dr. Pat and show yourself some love.
Yeah. Thank you. That was great. I'm going to hire you.
I like that. Show yourself some love.
Yes.
Yes.
So those that are curious about you and your program, I'm going to put the description and when we post the podcast, but verbally tell our audience out there how they can find you, how they can email you if they have more questions, get in contact.
Well, if somebody has more questions about me or wants to find out about me, my link to my website is healthteamnetwork.com. I'm easily findable on LinkedIn. And the LinkedIn is my name, Dr. Pat Boulogne, Boulogne. And if anybody understands how bit.ly links work, you have to have the HTTPS, and then the semicolon and then // and it's bit.ly/stronger than medicine. That is the link to get into my course. That would be the information where you get the information about it and also have the ability to actually sign up for the course. And I'm going to be repeating the course in March, but it's going to be at full price.
Oh my goodness.
And so at full price, you're not going to get it for $500. It's 5 times the amount. So it's, and that's for the group portion of it. And the one-on-one, I will do that same course with somebody one-on-one. And then, and also in the second time when I repeat it, there'll be a beginning, intake with me, and then there'll be an exit so that we can see where you're at, how much progress that you made, what worked for you, what didn't work for you, and make recommendations about how you can have a better tomorrow.
That's how it starts. A better tomorrow now.
Yeah, it doesn't start tomorrow. You got to start today.
You can start today. So I was going to say, you said it earlier in the podcast is people have this idea that time is the significance of time. Like the first of the year, I'm going to make a change the first of the year. In reality, you can make a change any second of the day because time doesn't have the idea of tomorrow is Wednesday or tomorrow is Saturday. I think it is Saturday tomorrow. No one has the idea of that, or the universe doesn't have an idea, but we always want to set up our mind that I'm going to wait till this happens to do this. I'm going to wait until the first year to lose weight. I'm going to wait till someone passes away before I finally focus on myself. No. Every day you get a free 24 hours, and every day you get the opportunity to make better decisions for yourself. Every second you do. And joining Dr. Pat's program will allow you the tools. It's like the example of the firefighter. I wouldn't call a firefighter up to work on my teeth. He's not a firefighter. Even though he does have pick and axe, I wouldn't tell him to work on my teeth. But
you mean a dentist?
The dentist, yes.
And you certainly wouldn't. And you wouldn't want the firefighter to work on your teeth. Right?
No, not at all. But if my
you
home's
know?
on fire, I'm calling a firefighter. I'm not calling a dentist. That's for sure.
Well, and you also have to look at what the analogy is there too, because the hoses and acts, the hoses represent medications and, and really watering down where the root problem is and not being able to identify it. And then, you have the acts and that represents surgery, right? Because when in Western medicine, you always hear the person's like, well, we don't know what else to do. When I worked as a patient relations advocate at the University of Michigan Hospital years ago, before I became a chiropractor, or even thought about going to school, I ran into a guy in the cancer ward who was very mopey and walking down the hall. And I said to him, I go, hey, I don't think I met you. And he goes, oh, you probably won't see me again. I went, why is that? And he said, well, I'm going to die. I said, we're all going to die. And he started laughing. And then he said, we were in this conversation and, he said, well, they just told me I had just weeks to live. And I said, why are you still here? I mean, for me, I said to him, I was 26 years old at the time. I said, for me, I said, someone told me that I go in the walls. Then this is before they modernized it and made it into a spa type setting. It was like puke green walls. And I said, I don't know. This is not the place that I'd want to die. I gotta just say, I'd go out and do whatever it is that I always wanted to do and never had the opportunity to do it. And I would do it, and go grab it. And so if you ever want to scare your parents, you should ask your parents if you have the ability to do it. So if you ever could do anything in your life, that you have dreamed of, but you've never did it, what is that? And, I asked my mother that question after the mentally retarded thing we talked about earlier. And she hung the phone up on me. And
Really?
about a week later, she called me back and she said, well, I think that I would like to go down to Florida for the whole winter. I've never done that, and I've always wanted to do that. And so I said, okay. So I go, when do you want to go? She hung the phone up. I was working then. I was making a ton of money. And and I'm no longer in that particular office. I haven't been in that office for a long time. And so, but she just said, so I got her a plane ticket. I had somebody take her to the airport. I made sure she got on the plane because I lived in Boston at the time and she lived in Michigan. My aunt and uncle were going down and they had a place that they rented for a couple months. So I helped her. I said, so if you go down for a month and you want to stay longer, just let me know and you can stay for the whole winter. But she was so happy to spend time with two people she loved from the moon and back for one whole month. And they always have gotten along really, really well. And so I was really glad to be able to give her that gift because she would never have done it if she wasn't asked that question. So it's always interesting to see what somebody has that they say, oh, I've always wanted to do blah, whatever it is. And if you have the capacity to do it for them, just think about what a blueprint, on your carbon print that you have in this lifetime for that moving forward. That's just a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a choice you make.
Yeah.
So I want to say, Dr. Pat, it has been a pleasure to have you again for the second round and these amazing breakthroughs. We have the choice of a better life daily. And given us these tools that you gave us, now I have the opportunity to live a better life now. And thank you for sharing how stronger than medicine will benefit those out there that need help, and those out there that want to turn to a different approach in just medication, and where they can find you in that great discount of $497. That's a great price to feel better.
It's the original price for the beta was $2,000.
Yeah.
And so,
So, I mean,
Wow.
this is
so
huge.
that's a huge discount. And, I thought about it because I think so many people were struggling mentally with COVID and then also physically because they really don't know. They're not being told the truth about where their immune systems really are.
Mhm.
And, and people don't know what to really do to up their game on their immune system. And, you've got to fix your gut. If you don't fix your gut, you can't change your life. I mean, that's just basic.
Gut health.
So, yep. So I would love to have, it's just like, I'm looking forward to helping people live longer, better, healthier. And I have a dream, and my dream is, there's always that saying that like when you have your health, you have 1,000 dreams, and when you don't, you only have one. Well, one of my big dreams is help masses of people really live really well.
Mhm. I love it. I love it. So, you know what? So, audience out there, thank you for listening to another episode, Life's a Shuffle with Dr. Pat. We've created a Facebook group called Life's a Shuffle. So if you don't have access to Apple Podcasts or want to leave a comment or be a special guest, go to Facebook, go to Life's a Shuffle, comment below, be a special guest. Or if you have a question, we will be able to answer it on the air so you guys can get the answers you need now and don't have to wait for it. Myself and Gloria are both life coaches, and we know how important it is to have the questions that we have answered. I'll tell you one tidbit is that when I used to listen to a lot of audibles almost every day for about at least 30 minutes until I realized there's no one to talk back to me. I have all these questions, but who's going to talk back to me? And that's when I started reaching out, talking to therapists and coaches because I need someone to talk back and give me a clear direction. So this is Ronald Johnson, mindful coach and life coach. Thank you for listening to an episode of Life's a Shuffle.
Yes. And again, thank you for joining us today, Dr. Pat, and for all the information you've given us. Thank you for the breakthrough again on the first year of the year. First day of the year. And again, this is Gloria, your life coach. Thank you for listening to another episode of Life Shuffle.